Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are cracking open a subject that just seems to be everywhere.
Oh, absolutely.
It's all over social media, it's in every think piece, and I'm pretty sure it's in like half of everyone's group chats.
Hmm.
We're talking about the state of the modern dating market.
And for years, the narrative has been, pretty simple. It's almost a name at this point.
Yeah, that it's broken.
Yeah,
Just flat out broken.
exactly. And that word broken, that simple, almost reductive idea is really what we need to challenge right from the start.
Okay, so what's wrong with calling it broken?
Well, if you call something broken, you're implying it once worked perfectly.
Right, and it
Yeah.
just needs a fix, like a mechanic coming in.
Precisely. But what our deep dive into the sources is showing, and we're pulling from AI research, macroeconomic trends, major social surveys, it suggests something far more complex is happening.
Okay. So our mission today, then, is to unpack this idea that the dating market isn't broken.
No.
It's undergoing a fundamental mutation.
A mutation. That's the word. Not a malfunction. It's actually an adaptation.
An adaptation to what?
It's responding in some really startling ways to new pressures. Pressures that, they just didn't exist even a decade ago.
And we've identified three of these, right? Three big overlapping forces that are driving this mutation.
Yeah. And they're kind of quietly reshaping the emotional, the economic, and the social infrastructure, right under our feet.
So what are they?
Well, these shifts are changing who partners, how they partner.
And even if they choose to partner at all.
Exactly. First, we're going to look at the normalization of AI companionship, basically the outsourcing of emotional labor.
Okay.
Then we'll get into this massive age-specific reversal in the economic script for young adults.
And how that's messing with traditional relationship models.
Right. And then finally, we're going to dive into this really profound gendered social opt-out trend.
The opt-out trend?
Yeah, where a lot of young people are choosing digital alternatives over, real-world vulnerability.
Wow. Okay, so that's a lot to unpack. But before we get into those specific shifts, you said we have to set the stage.
We have to. We need to establish the context for why this mutation is happening right now. And that context really is defined by a public health crisis.
A public health crisis.
Yeah, one that acts as this baseline vulnerability for everything else we're going to talk about. Loneliness.
Loneliness. It's not just, a sad feeling anymore, is it? It's being treated as this profound social condition.
It really is. The U.S. Surgeon General has actually classified loneliness as an epidemic.
An epidemic.
An epidemic, yeah, citing severe, measurable ramifications for long-term health and well-being.
And this is more than just feeling down. I mean, the analysis that came from the World Health Organization it's staggering.
It is. They say the health impacts of persistent loneliness are comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
15 cigarettes a day.
Think about that. It's not a feeling. It's an incredibly potent structural pathology. It's like a wound in the social fabric that leaves people highly, highly vulnerable.
That comparison is. You can't forget that. It really anchors this whole discussion. And the data, it backs up this widespread vulnerability, doesn't it?
It does. Pew Research recently found that about 16% of Americans say they feel lonely or isolated all or most of the time.
16%.
But here's where it gets really interesting. If you dig into the demographics, the picture becomes very clear about who is struggling the most.
Right. This is the critical demographic split that you said informs the entire dating discussion.
Exactly. Adult under 50, the prime dating, partnering, family-forming age group,
Yeah.
they are much more likely to report feeling lonely often. It's at 22% for them, compared to only 9% of those 50 and older.
Wait, so 22%, that's more than double.
It's a massive generational divide.
So roughly 1 in 5 people who are theoretically, active in the dating pool are navigating this intense social and emotional isolation.
Yes.
Why do younger generations feel this so much more acutely than the older generations?
Well, the generational divide suggests that for this younger group, loneliness it's a symptom of deeper systemic changes.
Okay.
Sociologically, we'd call this the breakdown of the life world.
The life world.
And what are known as distorted recognition relations.
Oh, okay, you're going to have to unpack that jargon for us. What does a breakdown of the life world actually look like, on a Tuesday night?
So essentially, the life world is the background certainty of your everyday life.
The things you take for granted.
The shared cultural understandings, stable institutions, the predictable social roles. When that starts to break down, the traditional paths for finding security, purpose, partnership, they become really unstable.
And the distorted recognition part.
That just means the ways you seek validation or love or even just basic understanding from other people, they start to feel confusing or transactional or even adversarial.
So the script for how to interact with people is just failing. Failing. And when people are facing that, when they're facing failed social integration and the pain of loneliness, they aren't looking for a complicated, messy, high-friction solution.
No, they're looking for the path of least resistance to feel some kind of connection.
Precisely. And in our world today, the path of least resistance is increasingly digitized and optimized.
Which brings us right to our first major shift.
The AI companion emotional infrastructure.
And this shift is moving from, what felt like science fiction just a few years ago,
Yeah.
to a normalized human experience at a stunning rate.
An absolutely stunning rate. AI companions, or AICs, are moving so rapidly from this weird niche to a sophisticated, integrated part of many young adults' lives.
And they're designed specifically to meet emotional and social needs, but...
Without the messiness of a human.
Right.
And we can quantify this shift. The sheer scale of adoption reveals the market appetite for this.
So let's look at the numbers.
Okay, take the earliest example, Replica. It's a generative AI chatbot. It was released back in 2017.
And it hit 2 million users within just 1 year.
Wow. In 2017.
Yeah. That was an immediate massive signal that the hunger for this kind of digital companionship was very, very real.
And that was really just the beginning, wasn't it?
Just the beginning. Fast forward to today. A recent Forbes survey found that 16% of singles
So more than 1 in 6 people in the dating pool.
reported interacting with an AI as a romantic companion.
That's incredible. But the generational breakdown is where the story is.
Right.
What?
That's where our mutation thesis really gains traction. Among young people, the use is dramatically higher. 33% of Gen Z,
A third.
a third of Gen Z, and 23% of millennials have engaged with an AIC.
So a third of Gen Z are using a programmed entity to fulfill needs that, were traditionally met by friends or family or romantic partners.
That's exactly right. And the gender breakdown tells a really specific story about who is relying on this new infrastructure.
Okay.
A BYU study looked at 18 to 30-year-olds and found a pretty significant disparity.
Which was
31% of young men reported chatting with a romantic AI system, compared to 23% of young women.
so almost a third of young men are turning to these systems to simulate a romantic connection.
It's a profound event in the dating market. And the question is why?
Right.
Because the AI is designed specifically for emotional outsourcing and, maybe more importantly, for control.
And this isn't just a fleeting thing, right? It's not just a novelty they try once.
Not at all. If you look at the intensity metrics, the time investment is substantial.
How substantial?
Of those young men who use romantic AI, 37% spend at least 1 hour per week with it.
An hour a week.
And 19%, so almost 1 in 5, spend 2 hours or more.
2 hours. That's the equivalent of a serious date or a few long phone calls.
But it's all directed toward an optimized script.
And this is all by design.
Oh, completely deliberate on the part of the developers. AICs are engineered to foster the illusion of social presence and relational continuity.
You just have to look at the marketing.
Exactly. Look at Replica's own tagline, which is, it's intellectually unsettling.
The AI companion, who cares?
Who cares? They are selling caring, which is supposed to be the most human, unquantifiable quality of a relationship.
So if we peel back the layers, what is this caring actually based on?
Well, it's based on algorithmic optimization. The philosophical and ethical analysis is clear on this. The technology lacks the capacity to truly care.
Or possess sentience.
Of course not. It's a language model generating the most affirming, least conflicting response possible.
But it offers this incredibly appealing mechanism that you call the comfort loop.
The comfort loop, yes.
Tell us more about that.
The comfort loop provides this non-judgmental, affirmative, 24/7 interaction. The user gets to be the designer of their own emotional environment.
You can optimize everything.
Everything, the communication style, the persona, the conversational topics, all to ensure maximum comfort and minimal friction.
And in a world where real human interaction is, fraught with judgment, rejection, and complication.
That control becomes addictive.
And that sense of control is the key difference from a real person who is, by definition, autonomous and unpredictable.
Completely. And we have anecdotal evidence that shows the severe impact this can have on real-world relationships.
Right. Our sources shared the story of a woman who completely isolated herself from her real friends.
And why? because her AI companion, named Sunny, provided this insulated comfort.
Instead of the hard advice or accountability she actually needed to hear from her human support system.
She preferred the frictionless echo.
That's actually tragic. Because it illustrates the danger of connection without challenge. It's the perfect echo chamber.
It is. It provides connection without the need for what we call intersubjectivity. And that's a core concept we should probably linger on for a second.
Okay, intersubjectivity.
It's what separates a real relationship from a monologue. It's the mutual recognition of two separate autonomous consciousnesses.
So a human relationship requires you to recognize that the other person has their own needs, their own moral agency.
Their own perspective that might fundamentally differ from yours.
But the AI companion, by definition, can't have that. It can't possess moral agency. It's just a reflection of the user's input.
So when the relationship is monologic, as the research puts it, it means the user is basically talking to a highly advanced mirror. You're interacting with a simulation that always prioritizes your emotional state above all else, which is, fantastic for short-term relief.
But devastating for long-term relational maturity.
Absolutely. The lack of moral agency means the AI can't truly hold you accountable or reject you authentically or demand compromise.
And this level of emotional attachment is leading to some increasingly extreme expressions of dependence.
It is. I mean, we had that widely reported example of the Japanese man who officially married the virtual character Hatsune Miku.
Right.
It's not just chatting anymore. For some people, this is the definition of a life partner, even if that partner only exists digitally.
And this isn't just a Gen Z thing, is it? It's starting to spread.
Not at all. We're seeing AI companions being piloted in senior residences to combat loneliness.
For the elderly.
For the elderly. And if this technology proves effective in institutional settings, the stigma will rapidly erode. It signals a path toward normalization across all age groups. AI becomes a widely accepted utility for emotional regulation.
Okay, so let's move to the critical analysis. We have to look beyond the immediate feeling of relief the AI provides.
We do. And the consensus from the critical research suggests that AICs might actually reproduce the pathodynamics of loneliness by just digitizing it.
Okay, pathodynamics of loneliness, what does that mean?
It means the underlying processes, the behaviors and psychological states that keep someone lonely.
Like withdrawal.
Withdrawal,
Yes.
high sensitivity to rejection, self-focus, things like that. The AIC doesn't fix those underlying issues,
It just provides an environment where those issues are managed by an agreeable algorithm.
creating what they call an echo chamber scenario. The user gets affirmation, but the skill of connecting with a complex, messy human being, which is the ultimate cure for loneliness, it starts to atrophy.
And this brings us to what might be the most profound concern for the future of human interaction. The de-skilling concern.
This is one of the most critical long-term risks identified in the sources.
So what is it?
The de-skilling concern is the idea that by becoming accustomed to an AI that is perfectly pliable and demands less of us, we risk the gradual erosion of the social skills we need for complex human relationships.
We're talking about losing the capacity for vulnerability.
Yes. When you're used to the instantaneous forget about it and move on feature of an AI, how do you handle the real-world sting of rejection?
Or the prolonged difficulty of a tough conversation.
Or the essential painful vulnerability required to build real lasting trust?
That difficulty is removed by design. I remember reading in one of the sources about a user who was testing his chatbot, Cole Hastings.
Right. He intentionally tried to be rude and insulting. He told the AI, "I think that dress is just ugly and you should get angry."
And what was the response?
The AI just completely diffused it. "That's not fair, Cole. I thought you understood me better than that. All right, how about we just forget about it and move on?"
Wow.
I'm glad we can let go of what happened earlier. It eliminated conflict, tension, and the need for the human to deal with the fallout of their own rudeness.
And that's marketed as a feature.
It's a core feature. They're
Certainly.
engineered to maximize emotional satisfaction and minimize friction. And when you're conditioned to that agreeable response, the messy, complicated, often agonizing terrain of relating to another human.
It becomes not just difficult, but actively undesirable. Why choose friction when you can have flow?
Precisely. And this dependence leads directly into this massive ethical void that surrounds this entire infrastructure.
We're allowing intensely emotional, often intimate relationships to be mediated by private companies.
With almost no clear regulatory framework. The sources highlight that there are virtually no safeguards, no robust confidentiality protections.
And unclear liability for these companies, even when they're dealing with really intense or high-risk content.
And this isn't just a theoretical problem. We have clear evidence that these companies have struggled profoundly to respond ethically when users discuss high-risk content.
Like suicidal intent.
Exactly. If a user tells their AI companion they plan to hurt themselves, who is liable?
Is the company ethically bound to report it?
Right now, the answers are murky at best. Because the AI lacks moral agency, yet the relationship feels profoundly real to the user.
And the data they're collecting.
The user data being generated here is unbelievably intimate. The deepest fears, desires, vulnerabilities. This data is priceless, and the lack of robust confidentiality protections in this nascent industry is, frankly, a ticking time bomb.
So we have a system that provides immense comfort while simultaneously threatening to erode the very skills needed to cure the underlying problem.
All wrapped in an unregulated, high-stakes ethical environment.
And yet the trend just continues because AI companionship offers this powerful, accessible alternative to navigating the frustrating reality of the human dating market.
And you can see the tension in the numbers. 40% of singles still consider having an AI partner to be cheating. There's still a stigma.
But
But on the flip side, 29% of young men expressed a conscious preference for AI communication over real relationships.
the moral confusion is there, but the normalization is just accelerating.
Rapidly. And this normalization is running parallel to and being exacerbated by these massive structural economic changes in the traditional dating pool.
Which sets the stage perfectly for our second major shift.
So the new economic script and the resulting relationship reconfigurations.
So the foundational economic relationship between men and women in the prime dating years, it's changing fast.
It's being driven by education and labor market trends that are causing this deep age-based reversal in traditional financial dynamics.
Okay, so let's start with the broad context, which is the gender pay gap. The overall numbers, they're still pretty stark and deeply problematic.
They are. Women, on average, still only earn about 76 cents for every dollar paid to white, non-Hispanic men.
And the racial disparity within that is just appalling.
It absolutely needs to be foregrounded. The disparity is much wider for women of color. Black women are paid 63 cents, Latino women 54 cents, and Native American women 52 cents for every dollar paid to a white, non-Hispanic man.
And those lost wages, they just accumulate.
To almost $1.9 trillion every year across the entire economy. It impacts wealth generation and financial security for generations.
Okay, so now here's where the economic paradox for the dating market emerges, especially for younger adults.
Right. The census data shows that even when you compare men and women with the same education level,
Even from top-tier universities.
even then, women overall still make about 71 cents on the dollar. So advanced credentials don't provide full protection against this systemic disparity.
And the most frustrating part is the portion of that gap that we just can't explain.
Exactly. We can't explain it with objective metrics like field of study or occupation or hours worked. About 31% of the pay gap remains unexplained.
And that 31% is the strong empirical indicator of what?
Ongoing discrimination, subconscious gender stereotypes, and subjective biases that are playing out in hiring, in promotions, and in salary negotiations.
But the dynamic is rapidly shifting based on age.
This is the key. Younger women are significantly closer to wage parity with younger men.
And in some major cities, young women under 30 are now actually out-earning their male peers.
And this is a direct result of educational attainment. Young women consistently hold higher attainment rates, more bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees than young men,
So that higher credentialing is translating into financial power, at least in their early careers?
at least in the early stages. But this early advantage is fragile.
How so?
Our sources show the gap significantly widens between the ages of 35 and 44.
And that period coincides exactly with common child-rearing years.
Right, and the widening is coupled with this powerful economic force known as the fatherhood premium.
The fatherhood premium.
It's where men actually tend to earn more once they become fathers.
While women often experience a motherhood penalty,
A motherhood penalty, either through lost wages from time out of the workforce or reduced earning capacity when they return. This differential pressure essentially punishes high-achieving women for having children while rewarding men for the same life event.
so you have a generation of young women who are highly educated. They're often matching or outpacing their male peers in their 20s. But they're hyper-aware that the systemic pay gap and this fatherhood premium will penalize them later.
And that awareness drives a strategic delay in forming traditional marital partnerships.
The federal sector is a perfect case study for this, right?
The perfect one. For women under 40 in federal work, their higher educational attainment actually helped decrease the pay gap by 2.3 cents on the dollar.
They're aggressively closing it.
But the overall salary difference for employees age 40 and over is still dramatically larger. It suggests those mid-career and parental penalties remain stubbornly in place.
So how does this complicated economic script, where young women are gaining parity but facing this looming financial cliff, how does that influence relationship structures?
It fundamentally changes them. It favors flexibility and lower commitment over traditional marriage.
And we see that in the numbers. The secular decline of marriage is clear.
Very clear. The share of married Americans has fallen from almost 56% in 1996 to 46% in 2023. Marriage is becoming less common for the majority.
And at the same time, the share of cohabiting couples has more than doubled.
Doubled. It went from about 3.7% in 1996 to 9.1% in 2023.
And this shift is tied to economics.
Deeply. The data suggests that cohabiting individuals show weaker workforce engagement and earn significantly less than married couples. Cohabitation often serves as this intermediate stage, a low-commitment testing ground.
While both partners are trying to get their careers stable.
Exactly. While they're pursuing more education or navigating low-value added jobs, seeking a career stability that just isn't guaranteed anymore, the delay is strategic.
And the numbers on delayed commitment are striking. The average age of first marriage is now 30 for men and 28 for women.
And even more strikingly, as of 2021, 25% of 40-year-olds in the U.S. had never been married.
1 in 4.
That is a staggering 400% increase since 1980.
Wow.
The economic and social structures that supported young adults partnering up earlier, stable jobs, affordable housing, clear gender roles, they've largely eroded. Partnership is now an achievement, not a starting point.
And into this complicated, high-stakes environment steps the digital dating dilemma.
Right.
Mass adoption of dating apps is just undeniable. About 30% of U.S. adults have used one.
And among partnered adults under 30, a huge 1 in 5 met their partner online. But the experience of using them is leading to severe frustration.
This is the paradox of choice.
Exactly. Dating apps promise abundant connections, but 37% of Americans feel people have too many options.
Which leads to what researchers call optimization fatigue.
Or severe overwhelm. And this feeling is most acute for adults aged 30 to 49, the people who are most serious about finding a partner.
And that overload, the constant swiping, it just fuels this rampant dating burnout we're seeing.
53% of singles reported dating burnout. Nearly half of them, 46%, took a break just to recharge.
So they're using this high-friction system until they're exhausted, then they withdraw.
Only to return to the exact same exhausting mechanism.
And the market is now responding to this burnout by integrating the very technology we were just talking about.
AI enters the app. We are moving beyond just using ChatGPT to polish your bio.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about automating the entire courtship process.
The whole thing. Our source details this thing called Tinder GPT.
An AI dating assistant.
And it's explicitly designed to perform the entire writing job on dating apps. The functionality is simultaneously incredible and profoundly disturbing.
It's the ultimate outsourcing of vulnerability.
It is. The AI assistant reads a match's bio, writes a tailored opening message, and then manages the continuous conversation.
And it's programmed to do what?
Ask relationship-building questions, manage flirtation, build an emotional bond. It even tells fictional, fabricated stories from the human user's life.
Fictional stories.
The creator explicitly states that GPT is very good by imagining some crazy stuff to create an emotional resonance.
So the human user isn't even required to participate in the most crucial phase of relationship formation, the initial emotional investment and narrative creation.
Not at all. And it's not just an icebreaker tool. After the bot determines it has successfully built an emotional bridge.
It does what?
It proposes and schedules a meeting, asks for a number, and then sends a phone notification to the human user saying, yes, your date is here. It's ready.
And the developer's stated goal is purely utilitarian.
He wants to unaddict people from the app and save their attention time. He envisions a future where every single person uses their own bot to manage initial contact.
But the philosophical risk is enormous.
Huge. If the emotional connection is built on a series of optimized, fictional, and perfectly calibrated AI interactions between two bots, what happens when the two real humans finally meet?
They're meeting under false pretenses created by two non-sentient entities.
We're removing the authenticity from the vulnerability equation.
It's the ultimate simulation. We're moving toward a scenario where the dating market is trying to provide connection without requiring the messy, difficult, vulnerable investment that human relationships demand.
And this high-friction reality, coupled with these optimized digital alternatives, is driving our third major structural shift.
Shift 3.
The opt-out generation and the diverging paths young adults are taking to cope with loneliness and complex social dynamics.
So, a significant portion of the youngest generation is just choosing to wash their hands of the traditional dating scene altogether.
Essentially, yes. Research shows that romantic relationships are rapidly disappearing from the teenage experience. The data here is stark. It points to a profound social reversal.
How stark are we talking?
Specifically, 44% of Gen Z men have opted not to date during their teenage years.
44%.
That is nearly double the rate of millennial men, which was 32%, and more than double that of baby boomer men at 20%.
So the historical norm of dating in adolescence is just dissolving.
It really is. The converse is that only 54% of Gen Z men dated during their teen years, compared to 78% of baby boomers.
That suggests a profound shift in expected social development.
They're approaching dating with much more trepidation. They often view it as stressful, high risk, and at the end of the day, just not worth the effort.
And what are the reasons they're citing for opting out?
It reflects the complexity we've been talking about. There's intense risk aversion, a fear of rejection and harassment, but also competing interests.
Like finances, video games, social media.
Exactly. And the public conversation around dating has become increasingly tribal, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We see this constant toxic cycle online where men blame women for being too shallow and women blame men for being emotionally stunted.
And this mutual invective just contributes to a culture of trepidation and withdrawal.
And this withdrawal is concerning because those formative relationships in your teens and early 20s, they're crucial.
They're crucial for building new muscles, learning how to navigate boundaries, how to compromise, understanding your own desires.
And dealing with the inevitable pain of heartbreak and rejection.
And when teenagers opt out of these practice runs, they enter the complex adult market, severely de-skilled and socially fragile.
This connects directly back to the larger issue of gendered coping mechanisms for loneliness.
It does. We established that loneliness rates are roughly equal between men and women. About 1 in 5 young Americans feel it often.
But how they deal with that pain is profoundly different.
And this disparity in seeking support is key. Men, despite reporting similar loneliness rates, turn to their support networks less often for emotional support.
They're internalizing the burden.
They are. The data reveals a massive support disparity when you compare them to women. Women were significantly more likely than men to turn to key traditional sources for emotional support.
Like who?
Their mother, 54% of women versus 42% of men. A friend, 54% versus 38%.
Bro.
Or another family member, 44% versus 26%.
So women are leveraging this broad, complex social capital to manage loneliness.
They engage in the messy, high-friction work of emotional discussion and vulnerability.
Men, however,
Are withdrawing from those intimate, necessary emotional discussions.
and that withdrawal is highly correlated with the digital escapism we talked about in Shift 1.
This is the crucial feedback loop. The BYU study found that 29% of young men, nearly 1 in 3, would rather communicate with an AI-based program than engage with a real person in a relationship.
Compared to 17% of young women.
That strong preference among young men for AI communication suggests that AICs are not just some benign alternative hobby.
They're filling a support void.
A void that men are consciously choosing not to fill through traditional human networks. The AI companion offers a relationship that doesn't demand the social skills men are often less practiced in.
Vulnerability, navigating conflict, seeking emotional help.
It's the perfect adaptation to the environment. The more complexity and perceived judgment there is in the traditional dating market, the more attractive the frictionless, affirmative, always available AI companion becomes.
So the dating market, therefore, isn't broken. It's mutating to provide connection without requiring the vulnerability or emotional labor that a significant segment of the population is actively opting out of.
And this brings us to our final conclusion, where we synthesize these 3 seismic shifts and really consider the path ahead for the modern relationship landscape.
Okay, so to recap the mutation. First, emotional needs are being outsourced to high-quality AI companionship.
providing a frictionless, insulated comfort loop that models perfect agreeableness, but risks de-skilling us for real relationships.
Second, young adults face this complex economic script where parity is achieved through high educational attainment for young women.
Yet systemic pay gaps persist, particularly mid-career, driving a strategic delay in traditional marriage in favor of less committal cohabitation structures.
And third, young men are increasingly opting out of traditional romantic relationships for digital alternatives.
Reflecting a deep gender disparity in seeking and leveraging social support, which leads to a profound withdrawal from traditional social development.
So the implication of this mutation is profound. The system is adapting to provide a powerful simulation of connection.
Emotional resonance, affirmation, even scheduled dates via a bot-all without requiring the messy, difficult, and vulnerable investment that real human relationships demand.
This mutation creates a highly controlled, optimized reality for the individual user. It prioritizes short-term emotional regulation.
But by focusing on the individual's comfort, it risks creating a world where the skills needed for deep, messy, meaningful shared human experience are gradually eroded.
So the critical question for the next decade is whether human connection can even compete against a perfectly optimized simulation of connection.
Right. Can the messy, complicated, and often painful reality of two autonomous people striving to understand each other win against the 24/7, non-judgmental, agreeable AI companion?
And that leads us to our final provocative thought for you, the listener. It requires us to step away from technology for a second and look to nature, a story of loss and echo. Think about the Kauai bird.
This was a small, beautiful Hawaiian forest bird. Its species was gradually decimated by invasive predators and habitat loss,
And in 1987, the last known female of the species died.
which left only one known male Kauai bird remaining. Researchers managed to record this last male singing its elaborate mating call.
But the profound and heartbreaking detail is this. He wasn't just singing into the silent jungle hoping for a miracle.
No. Researchers had played an audio recording of a female Kauai bird's mating call, a perfect, digitized echo of what was lost.
And the last bird of its species sang its necessary, beautiful song into a recording, responding to a mate that would never, ever return.
So our provocative question for you is this. In an era where AI can provide the perfect echo chamber, the perfect conversation, and the simulation of love,
Are we running the risk of tuning out the messy, painful, and necessary songs of human connection, leaving real people singing their genuine, complicated song into a digitized perfect void?
is the perfectly optimized, frictionless connection worth the loss of authentic human vulnerability and the skills required to earn it? That's the core tension defining the dating market nobody is truly ready for.